everybody. This is Jen Kleinhens.
And I'm Rob Vose.
And you're listening to another episode of Everybody Hates Your Brand, a podcast where we talk about our thoughts and opinions on marketing, from customer experience to brand and everything in between. Join us today as we talk about what makes Peloton great.
So yeah, this is the second of these what makes X brand great. And as predictable as the sun coming up, and going down. We've already done IKEA because we've banged on about IKEA a lot, and we're about to do a brand which I think we've kind of become very attached to as well. I'm sat in the podcast room, our spare room, next to the Peloton bike, which we've both kind of fallen for, even though we know the tricks it's playing on us. So Jen, being the behavioural science expert of the duo here, wrote a really interesting article on Peloton, on what makes Peloton tick and what makes it a really positive experience. So I'm going to hand over to Jen, and I will interject when I have something interesting / intelligent to say.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I think most people probably, or at least most people that listen to this podcast, probably know what Peloton is. Mm-hmm. If you do not know what it is a $2,000, or in our case, £2,000 plus a monthly fee, quote, like connected fitness system. So basically what it is a spin bike with a 22-inch tablet. So that at the very base level is like what you've got. You can live stream a class. So they do have studios. There's one in New York. There's one in London. I think there might be a few others kind of dotted around, where you can go into the studio.
Yeah, Germany seems to be coming along online a little bit.
There's a lot of German language classes lately. But yeah, so you can go into the studio and you can take a spin class, or you can stay in the comfort and warmth of your home, or in the relative safety of your home, as we are still in lockdown. And you can live stream that class, or you can just, choose like thousands, I think. I mean, how many? 10,000, 20,000
That's a lot.
Pre-recorded sessions where your data is still being tracked. You're still being like moved up leaderboards and things, but the teacher, obviously, or the spin instructor is not giving the class at the moment. So there's a few different components to it. There's a heart rate monitor. You pedal, and basically there's like a knob that makes the resistance either, greater or less or fewer.
Lower.
No, it's not fewer.
The resistance goes higher or lower.
Yes, thank you. That's a better way to put it. And basically you're competing for points, right? You get points based on how hard it is to pedal, how fast you're pedaling, all that stuff. Sadly, not for your heart rate, because I feel like I would be doing a lot better. I'm working hard, but compared to some of the people that do Peloton, including a lot of like professional athletes and just, I don't know, type A people, type A rich people. Consultants, I imagine, are really into it. So, you get on the leaderboards and it can be a little discouraging, but, it's this, what they call a social fitness game. Yeah. So the idea being that the competition is a big part of what's keeping you on the actual bike, or getting you on the bike.
It's interesting, as we go into more detail about it, you mentioned the type A, and there's definitely a lot of that. There's also a lot of, and we'll come to why this is really popular from a social perspective, of like moms who are trying to get fit and doing it with other, Peloton moms is a hashtag I see a lot.
I see wine, Pelo for wine as one. So these like wine moms.
You can have hashtags next to your name, and you can kind of group around those hashtags and all those kind of things as well. So I think definitely social element, but we'll get to that.
I never used a hashtag. I'll be honest.
I have one.
What's yours?
Bear Down UK, as a Chicago Bears fan.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one who uses it. Every now and again it'll say this person's using your hashtag. Oh. And I'm like, it just hasn't caught up for me stopping cycling yet. But anyway.
Oh, it's you.
It's just me.
But yeah, so I think interestingly, I mean, look, at the end of last year, most people know that there was a terrible Peloton ad with like a woman who looked like she could stand to gain a few pounds. I don't want to comment on anybody's body, but this is important. Basically getting on the bike and getting it as a Christmas present, and then be like, I can do it. And she already looked like she was in great shape anyway.
Didn't her husband buy it for her?
The husband bought it for her. So I think there were a few problematic things for Christmas. Very famous commercial that then Ryan Reynolds made fun of in a different commercial. Basically, Peloton got a lot of flack. Now, this was before 2020 happened, and we were all concerned about actual things that matter. But, the Peloton ad was pretty bad. And so I think a lot of people kind of going into lockdown, you want to talk about some psychology here. Even though it was a bad ad, everybody was talking about it. It was sort of mere exposure, right? Like it was kind of in the zeitgeist. And then lockdown happened in a lot of places, in Europe first and then the US, and they could not sell enough Pelotons. Like people were stuck in the house. They couldn't go in a gym. So, you know, they wanted to make sure that they could do something that, you know, was quiet, was easy to kind of do. And Peloton is basically it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and it's been hugely successful.
Yes.
Even before lockdown, it was hugely successful and
it was doing pretty well.
You know, there's almost a kind of, if you're really into it, there's a kind of religious fervour to it. There's a kind of CrossFit vibe.
Yeah.
If you've ever spoken to anybody who's a CrossFitter, that is the only way to work out, apparently. So there's a similar thing going on from a Peloton perspective.
Yes.
But the thing is, it works, and it gets you exercising, and it keeps you exercising. As somebody who avoided cardio for basically his entire life, I'm actually now doing cardio alongside lifting weights.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of reasons, you know, inbuilt into the experience as to why that is, which I know you've kind of gone into in an article you wrote, Jen, in terms of kind of those key effects that really make Peloton work.
Well, I think what's interesting is if you think about what Peloton is, and the way they talk about Peloton, they don't talk about it as being a spin bike that's in your house.
No.
They do use words like connected fitness system, you know, social fitness experience. So I think they really get the fact that like a lot of people thrive from the social component of it. But I think just in general, I mean, you do fight against psychology to do anything like, you know, getting fit or being fit or staying fit. Basically, like human brains are hardwired to value immediate rewards. So if your brain looks at, I could sleep in or I could get on the Peloton and work out, it is always going to default to, I really want to sleep in. It's called hyperbolic discounting. So basically it means you have to outwit your own psychology to get in a workout. And I think part of what makes Peloton so effective is it's doing a few things, right? So the mentality of how they designed it. So Tom Cortese, who's one of the 5 co-founders of Peloton, said we did talk a lot about Apple early on, and we talked about Netflix and Amazon. So when you think about these game changer companies who focus on user experience, that's where we looked for inspiration. So they think of themselves as a technology first company, which I think is smart and the right thing to do. But they have to basically accomplish 2 things, right? So that hyperbolic discounting bit, I want to sleep in, I want to eat pizza, I don't want to get on the bike and, you know, be fit. So you have to get people on the actual bike. And then you have to get them basically addicted to this experience of exercising because, you know, while I think a lot of the early adopters of Peloton were probably people who maybe are very self-directed, maybe they will enjoy exercising.
Intrinsically motivated rather than extrinsically motivated.
Yeah, or it's like more a part of their lifestyle than a lot of people. I think it's, you know, it's different for them than it would be for someone who maybe is coming to Peloton now who's like, it's getting dark outside and it's cold and, you know, COVID's a thing. And do I want to leave the house to do things or go to a gym?
I think that with any exercise endeavor, there is a honeymoon period.
Of course.
Where you're into it.
Yeah.
You only have to look at gyms at the beginning, well, pre-COVID. You only have to look at gyms in January versus November.
They make our lives
or
in
January into March.
As the people that go to the gym all year round.
Just give up already.
January's the
like
worst.
I'm all for people getting fit and what have you. But if you're gonna quit quickly because I can't get on the bench. Move.
Oh yeah, that's our problem.
But I think that's the point you're making is I can maybe to begin with it's new, it's novel.
Yeah.
But it tails off. So how does Peloton keep you ticking over?
It does tail off, but in terms of their customer base, I think it's tailing off as well. Tailing off, not that they have fewer customers. Actually, I think it's the opposite. They're going to have more customers. But tailing off in terms of how committed people definitely are to exercise. So it becomes more and more important, sort of the experience and addiction kind of part of it. But in terms of getting people on the bike, like, look, I think we're very privileged to be able to afford a Peloton. It's not within everybody's, especially now with, you know, jobs market kind of being what it is and the economy and everything. But honestly, like, that's part of what's getting me on the bike. So sunk cost fallacy, basically like you're more likely to start or continue something if you've made a significant investment of time or money. I mean, honestly, like let's just be real, like Pelotons are expensive unless you're like a billionaire or own an ad agency and you listen to this podcast. It's pretty expensive. It's about $2,000. It's another $40 a month. And I think, it's by charging a premium price, they do a few things, right? They position themselves in the market very well in that, I think what people hate is to get a piece of exercise equipment and not use it, or worse, get like a Bowflex or whatever. I don't know if they have those here, but
they have, yeah.
Oh God, Bowflex. And then just throw laundry on it, for the next, like this time it's going to be different. They say, I'll just use this time to dry my sweaters. And then before you know it, it's all over. But I think the price does something, but I think there's a few other components as well with the price. I think design is a big part of why people want to use it. And the reason being is because when it looks good and has a small footprint, it's not like a treadmill. It's not huge. It's designed very well. It's very pretty. And you'll notice that when they show Peloton, it's always in like a beautiful master bedroom or like someone's living room overlooking the city. Yeah. Like, I think that's very purposeful because the more you can position the physical bike in your house in a place where you will go like come across it all the time. Like, oh, it's in my living room because it looks good. And as soon as I pass it, I think I gotta jump on.
Get on the bike, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get on the bike.
It's low friction, isn't it? It's just there.
It's like a default too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. The fact that it's where we're currently recording this, which is our spare room, but it's also
it's a podcast
the office.
studio.
The podcast studio.
It's very sophisticated.
But I'm sat literally next to the Peloton bike right now. So, you can see it. Absolutely. That presence of it always being there, saying, you should be cycling. Why aren't you cycling? Why don't you love me? Anyway.
Yeah. And I think, a part of it as well is to be frank, like it's a celebrity favorite. Like people see it a lot. It gets the social proof of, people like, Usain Bolt. Like, if Usain Bolt uses it, like, there's no way that me, the guy I'm going to make a stereotype at the moment. Me, a guy who's a consultant at McKinsey who runs triathlons and stuff. Like, it's good enough for you if it's good enough for Usain Bolt, absolutely. Right? And then you have people who are sort of like, we call them high achievers. So there's quite a few professional athletes on there. People like Hugh Jackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, who probably should do it a little bit more based on his
Roger Federer, I think he's on there. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah,
on there.
There's a lot of professional football players and things. So basically, like, it creates this halo effect because there is a component to Peloton that makes you feel like it's good enough for a professional, therefore it's obviously good enough for me. In a different way than just like the treadmill or whatever. Yeah. So that's just all of the sort of things, all the levers that they pull to kind of get you on the bike, which is the hardest thing, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I'd really quickly chuck in is just time and convenience, so it can fit into your schedule regardless. So there are rides from 5 minutes to an hour. I think it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 45 and 60-minute rides. Or you can just go and free ride. So there's never a reason to say I can't fit Peloton into my schedule, because there's always a way to get onto the bike. And I think that level of, again, ties into the kind of low friction thing about you're taking away an excuse.
Well, let me put it this way. If Peloton only let you do live classes, I wouldn't have bought it.
Absolutely not.
Because I know myself too well. There's no way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think, getting you on the bike, there's a few different components there. The second bit being how Peloton is kind of making exercise a habit. So I think to talk about the ways that they do that, it's probably good to talk for a second about the structure of a habit. It's the so-called like habit loop, right? So there's basically 3 components to it. There's a trigger or cue, depending on, which language, which model you want to use. Basically, it's a signal that acts as sort of a call to action. So the classic example is if you want to start flossing, put the floss next to your toothbrush because you're brushing anyway. And if you see the floss, then you're more likely to use it. And in fact, there's a lot of studies that say many products fail in the adaption phase. So I have a new product, whatever it might be, a little widget. And someone will buy this widget and think, this is the greatest widget ever. I'm definitely going to use this widget. And then they literally just forget about it. Like 80% of the time, a reason a product is failing is because it doesn't fit into an established sort of like cue or trigger structure. There's nothing in my life to say like, oh, I should definitely use this. So then trigger or cue is the first bit. The routine is the habit itself. So obvious, right? And then the third critical bit, I think, especially for Peloton, is the reward. So this is the feedback that we get from performing the habit. Again, I'll use another mouth-related product, but I think famously when toothpaste, that we lived in a world without toothpaste, but we did. When commercial toothpaste was introduced, I believe by Procter & Gamble, I will have to fact check me because I'm not 100% sure that's true. When it was introduced, it didn't have any flavors in it. It was flavorless, right? It didn't really foam as much. It was just kind of like a thing that you put on a toothbrush and you kind of get it in there. And it's clean, but it didn't really leave you with a feeling of satisfaction. And it wasn't successful until they started putting mint in it, because then you get that little feedback, that little reward, like, oh, I feel minty fresh. Ooh, and then started putting more foaming agents in it as well, because it was like feedback that was like shampoo. If you've ever used like natural shampoo that has no foaming agent, you're like, did I even get clean at all?
Yeah. There's no visible sign, is there?
No. So this is a really critical part. So the trigger and the reward as well. So in terms of the actual trigger, I mean, we've talked about having it kind of in your life. That's mere exposure, because you see it everywhere and you're going to, go buy it, because the better it looks and the, the more prominent a place you can put it in your house, then the more likely you are to do it. I think simplicity is a big part of that. So we talked about friction. So there's a Stanford professor named BJ Fogg who famously has a few sort of like behavior change models. He does human-computer interaction, but if you haven't heard of him, you should look him up because he's got a lot of good things to say. But he was saying that the ability to do something, to perform a task, the easier that is, the simpler it is, then the greater the ability you have to perform the task, the more likely you are to do it. So again, it's, people don't want to think, they don't want to learn new things. So the easier it is to do something, the better. And I think that kind of speaks to the on-demand library of all the pre-recorded classes, because...
Although I will say, it's paralyzing sometimes.
To pick, I know.
Yeah.
It's hard to choose.
Yeah. And I guess we'll get... Because it's based around music and playlists, and it's based around, I'm a rock and metal guy, I'm not interested in certain things, but even if you filter by that, there's still like a million out there to do with different difficulties, different instructors, and I guess we'll get the instructors are a whole separate thing. We'll get to that, I guess.
And the music as well.
But it can be paralyzing trying to figure out which one you want to do.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, the instant availability piece, and we'll talk, like Rob was saying, about the instructors and the music and stuff, because I think it's all critical the way they've kind of designed this experience. But instant availability means that people are more likely to create a habit with it. And in fact, there's research that's been done around fitness app users versus gym users. So you talk about the January, I'm going to start working out. According to this research, fitness app users are 38% more likely than just gym users to stick with a program for 2 months or more. So interestingly, I think that instant availability really helps propel it into something you're going to use all the time.
Yeah, because getting to the gym after work or whatever it is way more of a pain in the ass than coming home.
Yeah, that was always really difficult for me.
Yeah,
like going into
I know
the
you
city.
struggle with that, didn't you? Yeah.
Like as a super commuter, like going into the city on the train, on the tube, working all day, coming home on the tube that was always broken, on the train that was always delayed. Then I had to walk 10, 15 minutes to the gym. Then I had to change. Then I had to work out. It was like, when will this end? I just want to do something. And there are a lot of people, I think are in this similar situation. Yeah. So there's a few other things I think we should probably touch on here. The fact that, I guess what we'll call social motivation, which is also known to be competition, right? Or known as competition. It's actually been proven to increase physical effort during workouts. So people who are working out in a group, like, they'll kind of look around, or in this case, look at the leaderboard of all the other people who have done the class, because that's something we haven't mentioned, is when you actually are on the bike and you're doing a class, you see everyone who's ever taken the class. It's not just who's there with you. And sometimes it's like 75,000, 85,000, 100,000 people have taken this class. So you really are like, oh my God, I cannot come in last out of 100,000 people. My God. But yeah, so it increases physical effort. It increases adherence to healthy habits. It increases reaction time. You can hook your Peloton up to your Facebook. You can, find your friends on Facebook who are also on Peloton. They become your friends, the whole sort of like low-hanging fruit social stuff. And interestingly, they have a community of about 2 million people, right, who use it at this point. they determine your rankings by your effort in the class. The competition is crazy though. So if you go on Google and start searching for how to hack your position on the board or hack your workout to get more points, like strategies, there's a lot. So there's whole communities about it.
Yeah. I've done some interesting things on the warm down, last minute of the warm down. No warming down.
You can still get points.
Just go for it. See how quick see how far, because everyone else is warming down. It's like, how far can I get up the leaderboard? Which is
cheating. It's cheating.
But I'm still working out. I'm still putting the effort in. Other people aren't. Anyway.
Maybe. Yes. So, I mean, I think there's a few other things. I think one thing to actually mention that is really surprisingly effective is the fact that you can give high fives to other people in the class. So you just like touch their name on the leaderboard, people that happen to be taking the class, maybe not in the same part of the class as you.
Yeah.
But when you get like these little digital high fives, it feels really nice.
It does.
Like, oh, someone sees me.
Yeah.
They see me, Maximum Dracula, out here pedaling around.
To be clear, Maximum Dracula is Jen's username.
It is. It's from Assassin's Creed.
Right, okay.
Because I think it's hilarious. I should probably change it at some point, but...
I like it. I think that idea of being rewarded... A couple of things. The leaderboards are interesting because they can put people off as much as it turns them on. Mm-hmm. So I think the idea that, a leaderboard is about competence. It's about your competence relative to other people and all those kind of things. And I think one of the things that Peloton does really well is it gives you filters to see the leaderboard. No. So I usually in a
humble
ride
brag
of say no, this isn't. I'm just being honest. In 20,000 people, I am usually somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. Right, I'm usually
top 1%.
Top 10 to 20%.
Yeah,
just about.
Okay.
I mean, I'm dying to do that. But that's where I am. I'm not top 25.
I am not. Just to
top 25-ish.
I'm like the bottom 25 every time,
and that feels good. But I can also filter by men over 40s, which is much more depressing.
Because honestly, again, like to make a generalization, I think these are self-selected people too.
Yeah,
like,
to a degree. Absolutely. I know what you mean. But the point is, if you're not happy with where you are on the overall leaderboard, you can actually filter down. And you can even compare to yourself. So I did this ride before. So I can filter down. So I can kind of go, I can filter the leaderboard, the global leaderboard by over 40 male or
Can I sort it by like over 70 women?
I tried
that
once. Oh. Yeah, to make myself feel better. Like, what would I be if I was an over 70-year-old woman? Top, yay!
Well, yeah, but you know what though? Like one of my first rides, I was on there, and I was on the leaderboard, and it was like a man 70 plus went zoink, like way up the. Like, listen, there's some people who are in really good shape.
You won't get to the top, but I think the key thing is that you can filter your achievements and the relativeness of your leaderboards to a point that makes you feel like you're making progress, and also it will show your best output. So the points Jen's talking about, it's your cadence, how fast you cycle. Sort of not multiplied by, but applied to the resistance you've got on the bike gives you an output in terms of joules or watts.
I don't know.
One of the two.
Kilojoules, maybe?
And that's what boosts you up the leaderboard. And be able to filter that, I think, is really important. To be able to go, oh, okay, well,
perception of winning or
and
progress.
I can against myself, so I can see against myself, even if I'm struggling against a leaderboard. Am I beating where I was before?
Which is nice because you can also retake the same class and you can see yourself in the first time you took the class.
Absolutely.
Just you and yourself.
And I think that's really important.
And I think that's really, really important. In fact, I found that really useful because, you get discouraged. And Rob's in much better cardio shape than me, obviously. But I mean, I'm working so hard. I'm at the bottom 25% or 20% of every class. And I could get it self-selected, whatever. But, when you're in the bottom 20% of 75,000 people, it feels really sad because your ranking sucks. But when you go back and do classes that you did when you first started and you're so much better, you're like, oh, okay, well, really my only competition is myself.
Yeah, and I think that's the key bit that a lot of leaderboards, you might start from a perspective of, okay, I'm going to get better, I'm going to move the leaderboard. Then you start to realise this is going to be harder than I thought. So to have that another layer and then go, okay, well, let me just beat myself, but that sounds wrong on many
That's
levels.
why we have that NSFW tag.
Absolutely. But if I can improve on my own performance, which even now sounds rude. Anyway.
It's okay. I already talked about the knob on the Peloton.
That extra layer I think is really important. There are some things I think they could do better, I think, in relation to that sort of stuff, which I'm sure they're looking at. The other thing to mention is they do the badges thing.
Yes.
So you've done X many rides in a week. You've done X many weeks consistently. They reward consistent patterns of behaviour with badges, which
it's kind of low-hanging fruit for gamification.
it is.
But I think it works really well here.
Yeah, it does. But I think if it was me, there's a couple of things I would add on to that. So being a gamer and looking at achievements and trophies. Is this a rare achievement? Like, how many people have done this? You know, am I in the top 10, 20, 30%? Where am I relative to everybody else?
You want those platinum trophies
for these badges, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, being able to say, and I think their CRM could do some work too. Speaking of CRM,
I would agree with that. I do think they could do better on CRM.
If I think about things like there's an app called Body Space, you send these great emails back. You've done this amount of work this week. Your weights have gone up by this and all that. I think you could. There's a benefit there that Peloton can do that they aren't doing, which says, here's your email. Here's how you did this week. Here's how you did this month. You were in the top 20% for this ride. Well done.
Yeah.
See if you can get it to top 15. Here's what you need to do.
I think.
There's a whole bunch of stuff they could, and
I'm
sure they are.
Peloton,
call me.
Rob.
I can help. I'm sure they are thinking about those things.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing a lot of stuff right, but I think there's definitely elements there that they could improve. Do we really quickly, because I'm conscious of time, I want to talk about like the instructors, because the instructors are a kind of a mini thing unto themselves.
They
have their own following and all sorts, don't they?
It's like, well, I mean, I think before Peloton there was SoulCycle, and it's the same kind of model where like the instructors were like rock stars, kind of.
Yeah, and it's funny, you find the ones you like and you discount the ones you don't. And
there's
sometimes
nothing
that's just
worse than getting in the middle of a ride that's like 30 minutes long with someone who you hate as an instructor, and you're like, "What? No, stop talking."
Because it's such an important part of seeing that person has eye contact with you. That person is looking at you. That person is, supposed to be the person pushing you along, and they can either do a great job of that or a terrible job of that. Yes. But the thing that I like about it is you can find somebody who chimes with your personality. There are some people who are so overwhelmingly positive I want to punch them in the face.
I like them because you know what? I miss American positivity.
I want nice, low-key, melancholy positivity.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. And I think, but they've got their own Instagram page and their own followings and their own just tags like Team Emma Lovewell's one of them, Team Lovewell, and I keep seeing things like that all the time.
Yeah, people are really into their specific like roster of instructors.
Yes,
I have mine.
Yeah, you do.
There's a few. Well, to be honest with you, I do Alex and Dennis the most. Sorry if you don't do Peloton, you're not gonna know who these people are.
Yeah,
but. There's a few that I've tried that I really liked at first, and then Ali Love I liked at first, but now I'm kind of like, and I've got my preferred people, but I've got like this roster of like 3 or 4 people that I would do. Like Rob really enjoys a woman named Christine
Decole.
Yes, she's like in her 50s. She's a professional cyclist.
I think she's late 40s to do it, but I think she does masters cycle like velodrome.
Yeah. I googled it because I was like, oh, I need some inspiration.
Yeah, and the thing I like about her is that she's actually a proper road racer.
Yes.
So she's been there, she's been through the pain, she does the training, all that kind of stuff. But the other thing is music. Certain instructors for me are completely out because the music's not.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it because, so often for me, like I said, there's a studio in London and a studio in New York, and you'll have like the British instructors, which is fine, like they're great. But the music, I don't know any of the music because it's all like British pop music that didn't rate at all like back in the US. So like the music, I think, is a huge component of it because they pay to be able to use, like famously now they've collaborated with Beyonce, but like they've got all like the popular music, like older music. And there's something different about being in a ride with a song you really like versus sort of the general, like, I'm in a workout class and they're playing like generic salsa music. Nobody, that doesn't really move me as much.
And I think what's interesting is you talk about reward. The instructors in a live class, and obviously you see it later if you're doing it recorded, will give shout outs for hitting certain rides. You've hit your 50th ride, you've hit your 1000th ride.
There's people who are hitting like 2,000 and 3,000. This is your 3,000th ride.
But what's interesting, I was doing a ride with Christine, and she, the same name came up again. So this person had got a shout out, had gone back to her ride roster, deleted a workout so that she got her 300th ride again. But a lot of people will time their milestones with a live ride to get a shout out.
Right.
Which I think is also getting quite interesting, that level of recognition. I've been noticed, or my achievements have been noticed.
On the subreddit, people will ask people to join them for their it's my 200th ride. Everybody jump on. We're going to do this ride at this time, and we're going to wear a shirt, and it's going to be a whole thing. There's a huge like social component to it. Yeah. Me being a hermit and an introvert, don't really. I high five people sometimes, and even that feels like progress. I'm like, yes, I've reached out.
I think the one last thing I'd say, I think in terms of improvements, one of the things that stuck out to me was if you're doing rewards that you know that are coming, like it gives you a goal to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I would occasionally like Peloton to do something a little bit more surprising, like reward, surprising delight. A horrible phrase, but that kind of thing. It's your 69th ride. Don't know why that number.
Okay.
Noise. But something fun, something daft. This is your 81st ride, or it's the first time you've done this, or you've hit an output level you've never hit before. Or I think they could be a little bit more.
They could be
surprising with some of the
triggered emails. I think there's a whole thing they can do.
And the achievements that you unlock and all that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, they have nailed it. And I think one of the things that insulates them is the network effect. People aren't going to leave Peloton to go to Zwift or somewhere else or those kind of things because there's a community there. They've built something. I've built a background. I have got all these rides I've done. There's no way I'm going somewhere else because that has been really I've built this kind of history. So I think in general they're doing a lot of things really, really well.
So that's it for this episode of Everybody Hates Your Brand. We hope you enjoyed it. You can find show notes, resources, and more episodes on our website, everybodyhatesyourbrand.com. But before we go, let's leave on a positive note and let's share what we're loving right now. Rob, what you got this week?
Well, this week has been bittersweet for me in lots of ways. One of those ways is that PlayStation 5 launched and I couldn't get one because stupid websites. But what I will say is they've done a fantastic job with some of their advertising, in London especially recently. If you know PlayStation, you know they have certain brand codes. Those brand codes are the symbols that are on the buttons of their controllers, a triangle, a square, a circle, and an X. And they've used those to great effect in London. So you go to Oxford Circus, obviously the underground symbol is the red circle with the underground through it. Well, they've created different versions of that. So there's the X, there's the triangle, there's the square, and the circle. And then what they've also done on the tube is renamed some of the tube stations. So Ratchet and Clancaster Gate, which I thought was quite an interesting. Horizon Forbidden West Ham. So they've kind of taken some of their new launch titles and put that in and renamed some of the stations, which I think is really clever and a really interesting sort of activation. So I'll post a link so people can have a look at that. Jen, what did you have?
Yeah, so I actually found that it's interesting. I mean, listen, like we'll talk about the politics the last couple of weeks. It does reference them, but we don't want to get into all that nonsense. But basically on Twitter, there's been a lot of people making crazy claims, right? And Twitter basically decided it's had enough. And if people are tweeting fake news about election results or election fraud, Twitter has started to put a little blue message on the bottom that says this claim about election fraud is disputed. And interestingly, a bunch of brands took that. This claim has been disputed. Sorry, the dog is barking.
Our dog is, but has just arrived home from her walk.
Anyway, so they've basically taken this claim as disputed and they put it on Oreo cookie, put it on a tweet that said Oreo cookies are the best, and at the bottom it said this claim has been disputed by no one. Yeah, so
that's clever.
It's cute. Yeah, the Snickers did a similar thing. Some Burger King tweeted, me, do you want anything from BK? Her, no thanks, I'm not hungry. And then on the bottom it says, official sources stated that this is false and misleading.
I like that. We have a third member of the podcast.
Oh no.
Molly has just returned from her walk and is going absolutely mad.
Full of it.
So that seems like a pretty good space to stop that. But I think it's interesting what Twitter are doing. I think it's definitely a good thing.
Well, you did it. You've wasted another perfectly good half an hour or so with Rob and Jen and Molly the dog.
Yes, late entrant.
And
cameo appearance.
A cameo by Molly the dog. And the Everybody Hates Your Brand podcast. Again, you can find us on everybodyhatesyourbrand.com and your podcast platform of choice. Have a week.
Take great care and be vigilant.